Most people know the Lord's Prayer. Many can recite it from memory. But almost nobody is taught what it's actually doing. Because the Lord's Prayer isn't just a prayer. It's a method, a sequence, a pattern for alignment, manifestation, and transformation. Jesus didn't give his disciples a speech. He gave them a blueprint in 3 movements that reorders your inner world so your outer world can follow. Once you see it, you'll never say these words the same way again. Let's get into it. This moment didn't come out of nowhere. Jesus wasn't standing on a stage making a grand declaration. There was no crowd to impress, no performance to deliver. This happened in an intimate, quiet space. His disciples had been watching him for a long time. They watched the way people were drawn to him, how peace followed him into every room. They saw the healings. They saw the authority. They saw the way he spoke and how reality seemed to bend around his words. But more than anything, they noticed something that happened when no one else was watching. They noticed him withdraw. He would step away, disappear into stillness, and when he returned, the atmosphere had shifted. Power moved, miracles followed, clarity filled the space. So one day, a question finally surfaced. Not, teach us how to preach. Not, teach us how to heal. Not, teach us how to perform miracles. But, teach us to pray. Because they understood something most people missed. Whatever Jesus was doing in private was shaping everything that happened in public. They weren't asking for words. They were asking for his method. They were asking for the internal process that produced the external power. And in response, Jesus gave them something far deeper than a prayer. He gave them a coded system, a spiritual technology, a way to enter alignment with God and return changed. Every line was intentional, every word was ordered, every phrase was doing something inside the person who spoke it. He wasn't teaching them what to say. He was teaching them how to become. That's the moment the prayer was born from. A 3-step inner process that prepares the mind to receive, align, and manifest the will of God. Here's the method hidden in plain sight. Step 1. Shift your identity. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Notice the order, before anything else. Before you ask for provision, protection, or guidance, Jesus begins with identity. This is profound, because transformation doesn't start with circumstances. It starts with self. But not the self you think you are. The self rooted in connection to God. When you say, Our Father, you are stepping into a position you may not fully feel yet, but that is real, a child of God, a person with access to divine resources, protection, and wisdom. You are no longer a bystander in life, waiting for help. You are a participant in a relationship that changes everything. And then, hallowed be thy name. This isn't mere praise or polite words. It is an alignment tool. You are consciously positioning yourself within God's authority. You're acknowledging his power, his order, his holiness. And in doing so, your mind, your posture, and your perception begin to shift. You are seeing life from the perspective of heaven, not the perspective of lack or fear. This is the first law of spiritual transformation. You cannot live in a new reality until you occupy the identity that belongs in that reality. Think of it like standing in a doorway. The world hasn't changed yet, but your feet are already in the room of provision, peace, and power. Your posture, your alignment, and your awareness are ready to receive what is on the other side. Before you ask for your needs to be met, before you petition for breakthroughs, before you speak over situations, you have already entered the identity that will carry the outcome. This step alone explains why so many prayers feel ineffective. People start at the problem. They start in fear, lack, or desperation. Jesus flips the script. Start with your position, your posture, your identity. Once that is set, everything else flows naturally from it. Key insight. The first law of answered prayer is positional reality. Who you are being internally determines what can manifest externally. You cannot reach new results while acting from your old identity. Step 2. Align with a higher reality. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. At first glance, it sounds like a simple phrase, something polite we say in ritual. This line is the core engine of spiritual alignment. This is where prayer stops being a list of requests and starts being a transformative practice. This is not passive hope. It is not about closing your eyes and wishing things would change. It is active agreement with a higher order. You are bridging two realities, the unseen and the seen, the spiritual and the physical, heaven and earth, promise and manifestation. When you say, "Thy will be done," you are positioning yourself inside the will of God before the world around you bends to it. You are no longer reacting to circumstances. You are matching your inner posture to the frequency of heaven, where the outcome you desire already exists. Notice the difference. Most people pray from the outside in. They see the problem, then plead for it to change. Jesus teaches praying from the inside out. Align your mind, your heart, your decisions with the reality you want to inhabit, and the outer world will adjust. This is why miracles followed him everywhere. He didn't scream at reality to obey. He didn't bargain with it. He walked already tuned into the frequency of completion, restoration, and fulfillment. The visible world was always responding to the invisible alignment. This step is the bridge between identity and manifestation. Identity, step 1, says, "I am a child of God. I belong to this reality." Alignment, step 2, says, "My mind, my heart, my actions, everything about me matches the order of heaven." Here is the secret. When your inner world is fully aligned, faith stops being a shaky belief and becomes a lived, embodied state. You stop hoping for miracles. You begin operating in the miracle frequency even before it appears externally. Practical insight. This is why the Lord's Prayer is not just words. Each time you pray this line, you are tuning yourself to an unseen reality, stepping out of resistance and inviting heaven to rearrange the natural world in response. Alignment is not passive. It is intentional posture, a deliberate positioning of your consciousness to the reality that already exists in God's plan. Step 3. Act from completion. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our debts. Deliver us from evil. Now that your identity is established, step 1, and your alignment with a higher reality is secured, step 2. This is the step where the inner state begins to influence the outer world. This is where prayer becomes action. Not frantic striving, not wishful thinking, but operating from a place of already having what is promised. Notice the language Jesus used. Give us this day our daily bread, not maybe tomorrow or if it's possible. The phrase places you in the reality of provision now. You are speaking as someone already supplied, not someone still waiting. Your posture becomes one of ownership and trust. Forgive us our debts as we forgive those who trespass against us. This is an instant spiritual reset. Forgiveness isn't just moral, it's energetic. Every grudge, resentment, or regret creates resistance to receiving. By forgiving, you remove the weight that blocks the flow of provision and blessing. You create space for completion to land in your life. Deliver us from evil. Notice, this is not panic or fear. This is authority. You are declaring, I am positioned in safety and victory. I am not controlled by the obstacles or opposition around me. You operate from a stance of spiritual sovereignty, not helplessness. The secret here is acting from the end, not the lack. You live as though the bread is already on your table. You live as though forgiveness has already lifted the burden. You live as though evil has already been neutralized and cannot touch you. This is not pretending. It's adopting the posture of completion internally, which automatically influences the external reality. You move from scarcity to trust, from guilt to freedom, from effort to allowance. In practical terms, this could look like making decisions from confidence in provision, not from anxiety about money. Speaking words of restoration and reconciliation before the external situation shifts. Responding to challenges from a place of authority and peace, rather than reacting from fear. This is faith in action, not as a reaction, but as a declaration from what is already true in the spiritual realm. And here's the powerful part. The moment you act from completion, the external world cannot remain unchanged. The environment begins to rearrange itself around the reality you are already living inside. This is the final principle hidden in the Lord's Prayer. Inner completion precedes outer manifestation. This is the spiritual technology hidden in the Lord's Prayer. Not a poem, not a chant, not routine repetition, a three-step manifestation formula. Jesus encoded directly into the words millions recite without understanding. If this teaching opened your eyes to what Jesus actually hid in the Lord's Prayer, I want you to anchor it right now. Type this in the comments. I pray from power. But it marks the moment you shift from reciting to creating. Type I pray from power, and watch how quickly things begin to align.